welcome to the Snowflake Sports Podcast. It is 7:51 Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday. This is December 16th, and I am joined by the cheesehead himself, Packer Fan Nation. What up? How you doing, Fritz?
Oh, I'm doing very good. I'm doing very good, Dan. Sports are great.
They're
the only thing that are good right now, but sports are doing great.
Yeah, right. The Packers are doing great. The Bills are doing great. You know, life is just full of living right now. If you live
How's
in that
it?
nutshell.
It feels good, right? Welcome to the world. Welcome to the life of having a team that you actually have hope for.
Yeah, right. All right, just to go over what we're gonna do or talk about today, we're gonna talk about the Bills get a statement win over the Steelers. We're gonna do a Week 15 preview where we go through some games that we are focusing on, game of the week and a goose egg game of the week. Then we're gonna go into NFL MVP discussion, some NBA talk, and then a Hartford Police Deadpool story that we'll get into. That just shows how terrible police are everywhere, and it's like an ongoing thing that we have to talk about on this podcast. All right, to start with the Buffalo Bills, just I guess Pittsburgh came to Buffalo, there was no fans there, and it was a little rocky start at the beginning. Like it was like I felt like there were like 7 punts in the first quarter or something, and then the second half happened and Stephon Diggs just ripped apart the Steelers defense.
Oh, yeah.
And it seemed like he just got into every slant where he was right behind the linebacker. This is really what they were missing with Bud Dupree being out for the season. And it was just weird watching this game too because TJ Watt didn't get any pressures on Josh Allen. Josh Allen seems like he had so much time, so the offensive line was looking great. And national media are oh, this is their first big win. People are being weird about the Bills now. Howard ranked them number 1.
Yeah, that was we'll talk about that. I'll let you finish.
Okay, yeah, which I agree that's absurd. But this team is just clicking at the perfect time right now. And I know the Steelers team has looked weird. They barely beat the Ravens B team. 2 weeks ago, they lost to the Washington football team. Washington football team has looked good now. Their defense is no joke. But they can win. The Bills can win in multiple ways. Their offense is multidimensional. Their defense is finally coming together. They stopped the Steelers run game at all or completely, and they couldn't get anything going. The Steelers offense kind of looks archaic at this point because Ben Roethlisberger can't throw over 15 yards in the air or something. But it was just great because this is like last year they played the Steelers week 15. They win that game. They qualify for the playoffs. It was a weird moment for Bills fans just because it's it's not week 16 and we don't have to care about these games anymore. But yeah, I'm pretty much done. So you can.
I have a lot to say about this.
Okay.
Before I get into that, when you talked about punts, it made me think of something I heard that I do want to just quick share. It has nothing to do with this, but I saw a stat that Aaron Rodgers has more touchdowns this year than J.K. Scott has punts.
What?
That's a real thing. You can look that up.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
So I think it's however so many Aaron has, it's 30. It's 36 to or 38 to 37 or something like that. It's close, but so this game, there's a couple things. This is hard. There's a lot of things right now that I feel totally fucking vindicated over this. One, I said Big Ben would not be the same after his surgery, and I don't want to overreact to them losing 2 in a row. But the fact that he does look like he can't really throw the ball deep anymore is a good sign of that. Just because he had that injury that really it's not as I don't think the Achilles injury is that I'm always super skeptical about being able to back from. The time injury is still not a great one, especially because throwing arm, and whenever an athlete hurts their throwing arm. I really there's not good history there. You can go look at Andrew Luck. You can look at Cam Newton right now. It's coming from somebody who hurt their arm, their throwing arm. like pretty badly. I know what that's like, and I know that I didn't have like professional, physical therapists working with me, but at the same time, like it's been like 3 years, and I still feel like my arm is like at 80% of what it was at the most. I do think. Now here's the thing. I think the Bills are very good. I think they're like a top 5 team. What have I told you over like the past 2 years of what I think of Josh Allen?
I assume that it's potential and just like how ball he is.
Yeah, there's that. Do you remember what I call him?
Oh, is it a poor man Cam Newton?
I said he's the white Cam Newton.
You need to. I've heard that so many times. It's
probably all from me because I've told it to you like 5 times.
True.
But it's true. Like the fact that he is so like big and strong, and he's a good physical runner with the football, and he can throw the ball deep. He's not always totally accurate when he's throwing the ball deep, but he has a massive arm. And back to what I was saying, the one thing I would not overhype, I would say, or like really like rest your hat on, is stopping the Steelers' run defense, because the Steelers' run defense right now is or the Steelers' run game is really bad. It's one of the worst in the league.
True. Yeah.
But I feel like the Packers and the Bills, I feel like are pretty similar teams right now. Whereas like I feel like the Packers are like they both have like, similar multi-dimensional offenses and have struggled in the run game with a strong back end. Does that make sense?
Yeah, though I think I think the Packers, their defense is a little worse, and it's like somewhat coming together. Like their run defense is infamously bad.
No. I completely agree with that. I also think the Packers' offense is better.
Yeah. It's the thing where it's like Aaron Rodgers is so much better than Josh Allen, even like right now.
Yeah, but Josh Allen, dude, the growth that he's made is so. Also, you mentioned Cowherd. That him putting the Bills first is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I get the stuff, like his reasoning for everything makes sense. Like the way that they're trending, the fact that they're a Hail Mary away from winning last 7 games or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
It's really good.
Yeah.
But I just there's nothing the Chiefs right now have shown me that they're not the best team in the league.
Yeah.
They kind of seem borderline unbeatable.
Though they looked a little weird. This game was this week was week 14 was kind of weird because they Patrick Mahomes threw 3 interceptions. Like he took a 30-yard sack. And then they also scored 28 or three touchdowns in a span of 3 minutes. So they could just flip it on. And I've said this people should stop comparing the Chiefs to the Warriors because everyone does that now. And it's just annoying, but it's so true, especially with this game.
It really is. Holy shit.
Yeah, and they're the Chiefs' defense is pretty good too. I think they're a very complete team where I think the entire NFC is weirdly one team. The Packers have a great offense, the Rams have a great defense. The Saints are kind of there, but not their offense doesn't look good with Taysom Hill. But what if Drew Brees comes back? The Seahawks have terrible there's holes in NFC teams, but it seems like the Bills and Chiefs are the most complete teams in football.
I can see that, yeah.
But go ahead.
I mean, other than the other than the Steelers game, how's their run defense?
How's their run defense?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right. It was a little shaky because Matt Milano has been hurt and in and out of the lineup. And Tremaine Edmonds is a beast at stopping the run, but his big hole is he bites too much on the run. So if you throw if you do a play action, he will like go to that A gap or whatever, and then like you can throw right over the top of him. Though it is difficult to do that because he's like 6'5" and an absolute monster athlete.
That's true.
So their run defense has been better, and their pass defenses looked kind of bad. But I think it's improved very much this week. Granted, again, it's the Steelers, so like, what does their offense really tell you? Like, Taron Johnson had that pick 6. I think Trey had a pick too. So it's just like they're kind of coming together. Especially like overall looked bad the first half of the season. So like the thing is this offense is playing so good. Like they're 7th in offensive DVOA right now. That like their defense just has to be average, and they could win pretty much any game. Which is just absurd to say for like a Bills team that their offense is the best part.
Yeah, man. Two things. Again, another thing that I think the Packers and the Bills have in common right now is we both have the 2 most underrated coaches in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not even close. Like, when have you heard Sean McDermott or Matt LaFleur's name in the Coach of the Year discussion?
Oh, never. I never hear that.
It's fucking unreal.
Yeah.
Like, the Bills don't go to the playoffs for our entire lifetime, and then Sean McDermott starts coaching the team, and they're immediately there. The Packers get fucking Matt LaFleur and change the offense of whatever the fuck By the way, the fact that Aaron Rodgers was able to win a Super... I'm starting to think the fact that Aaron Rodgers won a Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy is now only more impressive after seeing what he's done with these Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
I know they've had a lot of injuries right now, but like even when they had an offensive line attack at the beginning of the season, they still look like dog shit. Yeah. I'll give it another year, but the fact that LaFleur came in right now and they have lost 6 games, and he's like, I think he's like 10-1 in the division right now.
Ooh.
It's unfucking believable.
Yeah.
But nobody will give these 2 credit for
No.
whatever, because they're both small market teams, and that's why.
See, Green Bay is like a small market team that has like a national following now. Like
it's true, but the fuck, like, if Aaron Rodgers wasn't there, like how much has Devontae Adams had to do to get talked about as the best receiver in the league?
A lot. Yeah.
Like, he's been there for a while. He's led the league in touchdowns. Like, he's had more touchdowns than anybody over like the past like 6 years, and by a mile. And nobody fucking talks about it because there's guys like Julio and guys like DeAndre and guys like OBJ or Amari Cooper for whatever fucking reason. A lot of people like to talk about him even though he can't play on the road ever. Where's he been? When have you heard his name this year? Once.
Oh, not at all. But I mean, like, Dak goes down and like that whole team just crumbles.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, Dak was holding that team up by like glue and WD-40. All right, let's just lead in though to the Week 15 preview. And since we've been talking about the Packers and we talked about the Bills a lot, let's start with the Panthers-Packers. And I do want to confirm with you, J.K. Scott has 38 punts and Aaron Rodgers has 39 touchdowns. So he has more touchdowns than punts. So Panthers-Packers in Lambeau. So what do you got for this game?
Is that a real question?
Or just like more analysis, right? Like, I mean,
I'm not. Here's the thing, Dan. So you are, as a Bills fan, new to this concept. The playoffs. I don't want to sound like I know the way that I'm talking right now makes me sound pretentious as fuck. So I'm gonna try and switch it up a little bit. I know this like is gonna sound shitty, but like as a Packers fan, my entire life for the most part they've been good. Like, there's only been a couple seasons, like the season where, like, any of the seasons Aaron Rodgers has been injured, like the season he had a fucking broken leg the entire season, or when he broke his collarbone, or when Mike McCarthy's system was dying and everybody hated him. It's been pretty good for the majority of the time I've been watching football. And, like, getting to the playoffs, even, like, getting a high seed in the playoffs it almost always happens. So, like, it's not something that I'm ever, like, usually worried about. And I know that if our team has Aaron Rodgers, we can go up against mostly everybody. But I'm not worried about this. I'm honestly not really worried about. I mean, I wouldn't want to lose to the Texans or the Titans the next week. And then I think we're gonna smack the Bears. I think they're the only other team that we have to play. But like we've already locked the division up, and now we're just fighting for home. Which, if we win out, we do. But I also am not a huge fan of buys. Like, I don't think the Packers play well off of buys. And they get to play in Lambeau, but, you know, other than just, like, feeling at home, that's not nearly as much of a benefit as it usually is. So I don't know. I'm not really, like, putting too much thought into this game. I'm just going to watch it and enjoy it because I don't think the Panthers have much of a chance. Is Christian McCaffrey still hurt? Like, he hasn't been playing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have Mike Davis on my fantasy team, and he keeps getting, like, at least 15 points, so I'm assuming that McCaffrey's not playing. If he is, he's limited. Though, okay.
What a wild year for fantasy, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like, McCaffrey, fucking Michael Thomas, and Saquon all missing, like, the majority of the season.
Yeah. Yeah. It hurts. But pretty much everyone's dealing with it, so it's kind of even.
Yeah.
For the most part. So Panthers DVOA, 9th on offense. Like, Teddy Bridgewater, I feel like this team is fun. Like, they play competitive games. Like, I'm pretty sure they played toe-to-toe with the Chiefs earlier this season.
Yeah, they did.
Like, Teddy Bridgewater's not gonna, like, ball out, but he's gonna keep you in contention. Their run game is still good. Like, even with Mike Davis, like, they can do some things. And, right, the Packers, like, their run defense is their Achilles heel, as everyone has stated over the past year or so, or probably even 2 years. So, like, this game could be a little interesting. I would not put money on the Panthers at all. The Packers are just clicking right now. I forget. What is their win streak right now? Do you know? Like 5 or so?
No, I don't know. When did they play the Colts? That was their last loss.
I feel like a month ago, something like that. Because they killed the Bears. They beat the Lions this week. So the Packers, I think with the whole bye thing, is you're a little shaken or from the Giants' unbeatable win that one year. And then what was it? Was it the 49ers that went the cap year where he just went into Lambeau and he just tore up the Packers, right? Was that a bye year? I assume.
Dude, I don't even know, man. There have been so many years the 49ers have just broken my heart.
Yeah.
Like, it's them, it's the fucking Seahawks. I hate playing the Seahawks, and it felt really good to beat them last year in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mostly those two teams. Made me really mad the last couple of years.
Yeah. I mean, there really is nothing to unpack here. The Packers just need to keep winning. And I just think if you look ahead, like the NFC Championship should be Packers versus the Saints. This could all change, right? The Rams could get hot.
The Rams defense is really good.
Yeah, exactly. What about Tampa? Tampa might show up. I know you're a big hater.
If Tampa has to fucking play against the Washington football team, they're gonna lose.
Ooh,
calling it right now.
I can see that
because Tom Brady struggles mostly under pressure. Like his worst games are when he's under heavy pressure, and who's got more fucking pressure than the football team?
I like that. I like this take. I mean, Montez Sweat is playing out of his mind right now. Chase Young had that scoop and score, I believe, and has just been everywhere. He should win defensive rookie of the year. So I mean, I like it. They smoked the boys too on Thanksgiving. That was a great time.
That felt so good, dude. There's nothing that feels better, dude.
Yeah.
The Cowboys season right now is so satisfying to me. I'm just like, I don't get why Cowboys fans don't understand to just be humble until you're actually good, and then just stay humble. You know, like celebrate, but don't be the fucking worst person on the planet. You know,
They can't do that.
they can't. It's impossible.
You know that.
It's
Yeah.
actually impossible. And they get one win that means nothing. You hear about them fucking Cowboys. They lose 4 games in a row. And they're like, well, what happened? We were the best team in the league for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
No, you beat the
Yeah.
fucking Bengals. Like, you're not good.
Yeah. That is enough Cowboys talk for this podcast because they
Yeah.
are
Get the
basically
fuck out of
irrelevant. Bills Broncos. All right. I was talking about the Bills at the beginning of this pod, and I still think they're great. I do, however, think this is kind of a trap game. Broncos defense is still pretty good. They're 13th overall on defense. These like coast games are weird. I know going West Coast to East Coast is harder than going East Coast to West Coast because the whole time difference, like you're basically playing 3 hours earlier instead of 3 hours later. So you kind of get like more sleep when you go to the West and less sleep when you go to the East, obviously. But like everyone's hyping up the Bills. This doesn't really happen. Like normally they're under the radar, even if they're 10-3 or 9-4, whatever the record may be. I think they're looking ahead because they got to play the Pats the next week, and then they got to finish it off against the Dolphins. Though, if they get the job done this week, and I think if the Dolphins lose, then they automatically get the AFC East, and they might just coast. Though I want them to destroy the Pats in every single way. But I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of this game, right? Like Drew Lock should be in. They've got some weapons on offense that like really hasn't blossomed. But I think that they could work with, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy, like Noah Fant is sick, tight end, and he should be, I guess, unlocked more. I still, like, I give Bills the slight edge, but I think they're going to win by, like, a field goal or, like, 4 points or something. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
I can see it. I feel like they're a team that's, like, a quarterback away from being really good,
Yeah.
Like, I like Drew Lock. I think anybody who saw the video of Drew Lock rapping on the sidelines has to like
doing
Drew
the
Lock.
Dougie? That was fun.
Yeah, dude, he's sick.
Yeah.
He just seems like a cool person to be around. I'm rooting for him. He's like Gardner Minshew, only without all of like the godly attributes.
True.
The fact that the Panthers or the Jags almost gave up on him and are still possibly giving up on him is insane to me. I don't think they understand the gem that they have. But yeah, I don't know. I think they should win. And I don't know. I don't really have like a hot take about this. I haven't really thought about it too much.
Yeah.
But I mean, if the Bills just keep doing what they're doing, they should win this game. But I can see how you can see it would be a trap game.
Yeah. I mean, it's just because they have the Pats next week, and I don't know who the Dolphins play this week, but I'm going to guess. Oh, they played the Pats. Ooh, well, that'll be fun.
Speaking of which, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like, I heard this really interesting theory about the Pats in week 17.
Okay.
Where they would intentionally lose to the Jets.
To the Jets.
Because if the Jaguars lose out and the Jets beat the Pats, the Jags would get the first overall pick, keeping Trevor Lawrence out of the NFC East.
I can see that. That's a very Belichick move.
It's a very three-dimensional chess, Belichick.
Yeah, exactly. Like Cam Newton, he throws like 50 times for 70 yards or something and a couple picks. And
by the way,
like
another thing that I called this year was Cam Newton being bad.
I mean, you got a lot right this year, like on this pod and just in general. So like 2020, good year for Fritz.
Did I tell you about the Survivor League that I'm in?
No, you have not. Please go.
I am in a Survivor League that started with over 400 people, and right now it's down to 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And you're still in it? Like you're still...
Yes.
You're still cruising? Wow. And this is one, right, where you have to pick a new team every week?
You have to pick. You can't pick a team twice. And, once you're... if you get it right, you keep going, and then if you get it wrong, you're out. But...
Right. Damn.
Yeah. Basically what happened, my friend texted me, like, I think it was after week 3. I think she had done the first 3 weeks, and she texted me asking me for advice, and I was like, hold on a sec. The Jets look historically bad. They don't look like they're going to win a game this year. So what I did was I took about, like, an hour and a half, maybe, and went through the Jets' entire schedule, picked most of those games, and then a couple other ones, because I think some of the teams she had picked earlier also played the Jets, and then also, obviously, because of the divisions, I had to pick, 2 more teams, or three more teams, because, they played 3 of those teams twice. So I've just been riding, like, other bad teams, like the Cowboys and the Bengals and the Jags. But like I said, there's 9 people left. And my last 3, like, we just picked the Titans last week, and the last games we have are the Rams against the Jets, the Browns against the Jets, and the who's our last pick?
Pats?
No, it's
right.
the Saints against Carolina.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you have to pick ahead? Is that a thing? Or you had to pick the whole year? Or
no, you pick
right.
week by week.
Pick weekly.
So every week we'll, like, reconvene, basically, and be like, hey, does this pick still look good? Are there any injuries? Blah, 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 blah. All that fun stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Damn, I've never heard anyone get that far. I always, like, Survivor Leagues, I feel like, last, like, 8 weeks. And it's like, oh, this person won because there's no one left.
Yeah.
So kudos to you.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, I've been picking the Jets games mostly, and I did pick the Raiders 2 weeks ago.
Oh, that was...
Yeah.
That was close.
That was terrifying.
Thank you, Greg Williams.
Dude, yeah, fucking seriously. I want to send that guy I want to kiss that guy right on his mouth.
Tom Brady it right there?
Yeah, I'll Tom Brady that guy all fucking day.
All right, let's get back on track, though. So Chiefs Saints this week. This would have been a very good game. A barn banger?
Barn burner?
The actual word. Barn burner, thank you. If the Saints didn't lose to the goddamn Eagles this weekend, and the Chiefs, like, they didn't look that great against the fish either. But this is like the 2 Titans.
Yo, but
each.
Don't look down on the Dolphins, dude. Like, as much as I talked about our team's coaches being good, Flores deserves Coach of the Year, and it's not even close.
Yeah, that's fair. It's just I felt like the Dolphins get enough hype in the media itself. Like, there was like a solid couple weeks where people were like, the Dolphins are the best team in the AFC East, and then they like got pummeled by some team, and then it's like, yeah, you know what? The Bills are really good this year. So that's why I kind of shit on them. Anyways, Chiefs looking great. They're first overall in DVOA. Saints are first overall DVOA. My bad. And the Chiefs are third overall, second in offense, 18th in defense, which seems weirdly low. I think like the Tyrann Mathieu Honey Badger thing is always for real. I just got to keep riding the Chiefs. Like they just know how to win in multiple ways. Their offense is unstoppable, and even if you stop them for 3.5 quarters, like just the way they use all their weapons. Like I don't think Tyreek Hill is like a top 5. Like maybe he's like 7th or 8th best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm
somewhere around
tired
that
of
range.
people saying that like he's the best receiver in the league. I've heard a lot of people say that. He is a one-trick pony. He is a very dangerous one, but like if you double team him and you have like safety help, he has elite speed and he demands a double team, but like there's mainly one way that he's gonna beat you. He's not gonna like moss you. He's not gonna fucking like, you know, run a absolutely crazy route. He's just gonna burn you. So like, there are ways to get around him. He's really fucking good, but he's not the best overall receiver in the league, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. The thing is, though, like, if you double him, what do you do about Travis Kelce? What do you do about, like, was it Hardman? Right, is there other guy?
Yeah, Nicole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. Is Sammy Watkins
still got Watkins?
Still hurt? I haven't been watching a lot of the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still hurt. And this Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Oh, speaking of which, so my buddy who runs the Out of Bound podcast too, I'm in like a fantasy league for his podcast. And there's someone in that league that is called the French Prince of Hilaire. And I thought that was the best fantasy.
That's really fucking good. Mine this year before my team totally collapsed was the La Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Mine was CD's Nuts.
Nice.
I thought that was great with CD Lamb.
Nice.
I thought that's both leagues. I couldn't think of a better
that's
one.
A good.
So I just made it
actually, my other one. I had that thing where like all of my players got put on IR in my other league, and I named my team the Marshall Flyers.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Anyways, let's get back on track. Saints, I mean, I like what they're kind of doing. Even though they lost against the Eagles, I thought the Eagles, like what everyone's talking about this week is they had a spark. Like that their team just looked like they had fun. Like Doug Peterson is weirdly good with backup quarterbacks too. So like they just they had no tape on Hurts, like no real tape. And they just they got the thing going. But like it's the Chiefs, right? You just gotta take the Chiefs. They're just the more superior team. Like Patrick, we'll get into it later on the MVP discussion, but like Patrick Mahomes is
incredible
up there, at least second if you're not picking Rodgers. So I don't know. This game will be great though. I'll definitely be tuning in.
Yeah,
or at least on Twitter
for sure. It sucks that Drew Brees is not going to be playing because this is one of those games where you're like, okay. It's going to be good no matter what. The fact that it's not the night game and the Browns and the Giants is kind of bananas, but
I kind of like it, not going to lie.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, the Giants were playing hot. They have a good defense, right? And the Browns
That's fair.
is like bad defense, good offense. So it's a pretty good matchup. And then it's also just market, right? New York City market.
Yeah.
It's weird though because I think they flexed this game in. I forget which game they flexed out, but
the Cowboys.
Like they on purposely made this game.
It was the Cowboys, right?
On Sunday.
They
sure.
took out the Cowboys.
Yeah,
I remember because they were talking about that on a bunch of different fucking like sports talk shows and shit. Because that's a big deal when the Cowboys get flexed out of a primetime spot because they're the fucking Cowboys.
I mean, they also played the Niners. That there's just a lot of history in that game.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so outside of those three games, which I think they're pretty great games. Maybe not actually they're not really. Come to think of it, like Panthers, Packers, and Bills, Broncos should not really be that close. But what is your game of the week?
I mean, well, there's a couple ways I could go with this. You can talk about like the Bears Vikings. That's super super interesting because. You know, for obvious reasons. I mean, they're both at 6 and 7, and they're both like on the cusp of like a playoff spot. So either one of those teams, if they win, they're kind of keeping their season alive. If they lose, it's basically over for them. And you know, division games are always closer than regular games, and there's just a whole bunch of reasons why that game would be interesting to watch. The Seahawks football team game. Now, that's also interesting to me because I really like the football team. I like the football team a lot. And they have all of the things that you like they're coming together in this really unique way where like at the beginning of the season we were like talking about like, oh man, they have fucking nobody. Who the hell? Like, why would they pick Chase Young? Because they have so many more positions that they need to address and like all that bullshit. But now they have a quarterback who's playing really well, except for last game. A really, really good wide receiver in Terry McLaurin.
Scary
Terry. He's fucking fast as shit.
Yeah.
And a defensive line that is better than anybody else's defensive line in the league. It's so fucking good. But yeah, I mean, there's, and the Seahawks are also the keep forgetting that like their line has been playing really, really well over like the past couple weeks. I mean not their line, their secondary, the Washington football team. I also want them to win too because I said this at the beginning of the year. I don't know if you remember this, but I said if they win the division, they have to keep the name. And I know that that's not written anywhere and is never going to happen, but I want it to so bad because it would be so fucking funny. And it would kind of be like swaggy in like a shitty way, you know? You know how like those like the fucking old Packer uniforms are just so ugly? I love when they wear them. The fucking like the maroon brown helmets and the like the navy with the blue, like the yellow circle in the middle with the number in it, and then the like the tan pants. Like everything about that uniform is dog shit, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, it's one of those old school things where it's just like this makes absolutely no sense, but it actually works for a sense. So I was gonna pick. So I thought that I was gonna pick the Bears versus Vikings, and I thought you would give me shit for it, just because like these teams really aren't that good, but they are vying for a playoff spot. Did you see that Mitch game? Did you see that Mitch game?
Not only did Mitch beat Deshaun Watson, but he also beat Deshaun Watson in a week where Patrick Mahomes threw 3 picks.
Yeah, exactly. Best wide receiver, or not wide receiver, quarterback in what 2017 draft, right?
You say that
because that's.
Somebody is going to come to your house and stab you, and it might even be a Bears fan for saying that.
Yeah. It's one of these things too where it's like the Bears should be losing right now. Like they're hitting like the Buffalo Bills mediocrity where they're going to be like 7-9. They're going to draft like 12th. They're not going to be able to draft like a good quarterback, and they're probably going to have to re-sign Mitch just to say like competent or something, or just be like, oh, did you watch that Texans game last week or that one game? He played great. And they're just never going to be good. Miss the playoffs for like 20 years. That seems like a legitimate timeline for the Bears.
The Bears just cannot hit on quarterback, dude. It's so funny because they're like, I don't know if you know, and it does have to do with like history and like amount of time in the league, but the Bears have more Hall of Famers than any other team in the league.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I can see that.
But can you name a Hall of Fame Bears quarterback?
I mean, is Jake McMahon one? Is that... It's probably not, right?
I don't think so. Like, they're just not good at quarterback.
Not Jake Plummer? I honestly can't even think of Bears quarterbacks. I think that's how non-existent
Cutler
in the back. Oh, Cutler, right? Yeah.
They're a team. Grossman.
Oh yeah, Florida Gator up. There are teams that like you think of them and you think of defense. Like that is the thing you think
Yup.
about with the Bears.
Fucking Steelers.
Yeah, true. But like Steelers have had, they had Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
They had Terry Bradshaw.
Steelers are also
They've had
like,
great quarterbacks.
Historically probably the best franchise in the league.
Yeah.
I'd say if we're talking about like historically good, it's the Steelers and the Packers, and then every other team in the league is like they've had spurts of being good. But I don't think there's any team that has been consistently as good throughout like their entirety of existence than the Steelers and the Packers. Because the Steelers are probably better. The Packers have their whole title town thing, but the Steelers, like, I know for a fact that the time between Brett Favre and Bart Starr was rough, but they did have the Bart Starr era, and then they did have the Brett Favre era, and the time in between wasn't great, but like, with the whole Vince Lombardi and Curly Lambeau and having more titles than anybody else in the league, like championships, and then still having 4 Super Bowls is big. And then having the 6 Super Bowls as the Steelers, and like they've like if you were to like list how many Hall of Famer Steelers you could go on for hours. They're all so good and so well known because they were just so fucking dominant.
Yeah, they could probably do like an all 22
Yeah.
of Hall of Famers. I'm pretty almost like maybe not like a punter or something, but like the offense defense you could absolutely name.
Oh yeah.
Every position on that. All right, Goose Egg game of the week. What game could you care the least about in week?
I mean, there's a couple ways I could go with this. Honestly, now this isn't the one I'm gonna pick, but I do think it's really funny that the Raiders have not been doing that well since they took that victory lap. Like, they beat the Chiefs,
Yeah, they don't.
and then they celebrated it like it was the fucking Super Bowl or like a death match. And then they just went on this losing streak and almost lost to the Jets. So
Should have lost to the Jets. That should have been an L.
By the way, I hate to bring this up again, but that week as well, I was also playing for my fantasy life in one of my leagues to make it into the playoffs, and the other kid that I was playing had Darren Waller. Scored like fucking 45 points.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. Dude's a beast. Dude's a monster.
Honestly, probably the Cowboys and the 49ers games. Those are two teams that are just like, they've been decimated by injuries. Nobody really cares about either one of them. The Cowboys should just be tanking. I don't even know why they're trying anymore because, like, Pro Football Focus fucking loves them. They think that they have, like, the best roster in the league for whatever fucking reason. But, like, why wouldn't you tank and get Justin Fields if you're not going to pay Dak Prescott? You know?
Yeah, I think they're going to pay Dak Prescott.
Which is so dumb. It is so dumb.
It depends. Because, like, do you see how bad they are this year? Isn't it like, oh, like, we actually really do need Dak, or this team is going to be an absolute mess?
I think they'd be just as bad without him. Or with him. Because if that offensive line is still, like, just as injured, they'd still be just as bad. And Zeke has been playing like dog shit. And every year that they don't have a run game, he's a very average quarterback. I have said this over and over and over again, but Dak Prescott is basically Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay. With a better arm, more accurate, and, well, not more accurate, but has more touchdowns.
What have they been given to work with?
Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And when he's given weapons, like when he was on the Saints for a little bit, he went undefeated.
Right, but he didn't play that good. Like, Dak puts up unreal numbers. Like, Teddy Bridgewater is like, to me, Teddy Bridgewater is more like a better version of Tyrod Taylor, where it's just like, oh, like, I can get you the win. Let's get you like 200 yards. I won't do any turnovers, and we'll win, like 20-17 because our defense was good. Like, that's like the Bridgewater path. And the Panthers are what, 3-12 this year? Or I don't even know. Well, they're better than that. Was it 4-9? So, I mean, I thought this Panthers team. I think the Panthers team is fun. They're great. They're like, I thought they would be like where the Jags were. But all right, I'm gonna get back on track though because I just keep rambling about the Panthers. Game I could care less about is the Steelers Bengals because it's just like the Steelers should absolutely romp them. It's on Monday night.
That's a good take.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, like are the Steelers back? They look so good against the Bengals. Blah blah blah. It's just like who cares?
There's nothing.
It's the Bengals.
There's nothing that anybody can get out of that game. The only thing that would ever be exciting is if the Bengals somehow ended up beating them. But the Steelers have nothing to gain from that game. Because even if they beat them, like the narrative on the Steelers is, are they overrated? And they can't do anything with that against the Bengals. Basically, they're only winning right now to not lose, and two, hope that the Chiefs lose. That's a really good take, Dan.
Oh, thanks, man. Appreciate it. And the Chiefs can't lose. They're playing the Saints, one of the better games this week. But like even, I don't know. I feel like they have to kill us. And we're talking too much about this game, just because it's bad. And what I really wanted to talk, because like what I wanted to bring you on, and we were supposed to record last week. I just kind of flaked because work has been crazy.
That's okay.
But like the MVP discussion for NFL, I think is so interesting this year, and I thought it was interesting last year too, between your Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. So I'll give you the floor to talk about your boy.
His talent threatens Tom Brady's legacy, the same way that Patrick Mahomes does. The only difference between the two of them is that Patrick Mahomes has a much better situation to work with. He has a fucking team and an organization that voters vote on, and it's like, well, what narrative has best fucking story? You know, who are we giving it to this year? But I mean, NBA and NFL, it's the same every fucking year. Like, you could make an argument that Russell Wilson should have won the MVP the past like 8 years in a row. It's ridiculous that he has never even gotten a vote. But
yeah,
what my big thing about this is, I've seen both of these teams play without their quarterbacks. I watched Aaron Rodgers play against a Patrick Mahomes-less Chiefs team last year, and the game was relatively close. I've also seen Aaron Rodgers go down in a season, and what happens after that? Because the season's over after that. Like, if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, fucking die. Like, you won't win a single game. Basically, everybody on the defense besides Lynn Martinez, Zach, which I'm still mad about because how's the run defense? Not great.
Also, beneficial to the G-Men. G-Men's defense looks great because of
fucking Martinez, right? Dude,
so,
I heard so many like people on like Packer radio and like Packer Twitter just talking about how Blake Martinez just wasn't the guy. And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's top 3 in tackles every year he's been on the team. He's a monster. Yeah. And now
he's everywhere. I don't get it.
We got Christian Kirksey, who looks slow as shit, and Oren Burks, who we drafted in the 3rd round like 2 years ago, who has not been playing because this undrafted free agent Chris Barnes has been playing, and then also the 4th round draft pick, the only one that we're using right now in games, Kamal Martin. They're barely using him, and when he's on the field, he does well, but they're barely using him. I don't get what the organization is doing. I don't get what Mike Pettine's doing. The offense is exactly what I said it was going to be, right? Remember what I said last year?
Yeah.
I said
yep.
It's going to take them about half a season until they get clicking, and they're going to be good, and then in year 2 they're going to go off. Every time it happens with a new system, it takes at least a year until everything starts fully clicking. I just wish the defense was playing like they were last year, and then this team would probably be the biggest Super Bowl threat in the league. But back to my original thing, Aaron Rodgers is the MVP. Like, if you want to compare their numbers, you can make arguments back and forth, but Aaron Rodgers is working with Davante Adams and a bunch of other guys that I really like, but are uncomparable when it comes to guys like Travis Kelce. And, I mean, you know, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is doing really well. Aaron Jones is having a pretty good season. He's not having like his best season, which is great because his contract's up this year. I really hope they re-sign him. But like weapon-wise, Aaron Rodgers is the reason that Robert Tonyan has the same amount of touchdowns as Travis Kelce.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. Fucking think about that for a sec. Think about the fact that, like, there's a reason that Jordy Nelson led the league in touchdowns every single year, and now Davante Adams is doing it. Like,
yeah,
they've been to the NFC Championship 3 of the last 6 years, and every single time they've lost, it's because the defense lets up at least 35 points. Like,
yes.
Get him a set. I mean, I like MVS a lot. I like Alan Lazard a lot. I don't know what the fuck happened to Devin Funchess. And then I don't know. There's some other guys on the team that are good. I honestly, I've been pretty high on Tonyan for the past couple of years. I've been like praying for the Packers to give him more time. But if we're talking weapons-wise, and even coaching, like Andy Reid compared to Matt LaFleur is a great coach. But Andy Reid, like the experience alone isn't comparable. These guys are their accomplishments right now and like what they're doing statistically are both like razor thin.
But still, like, even if you go, like, I'm an analytic person, I'm a stat person. We've had this argument multiple times.
Is that why you think Jordan's better than LeBron?
Hey, I said
I had to.
You dick. But so even if I'm like gonna come out and say, oh yeah, Mahomes should win, he's electric, he's more fun. The stats don't lie for Rodgers, like slightly in every category except passing.
And wins too. But
oh yeah.
That's me talking as like a current current sports media guy, whereas Fritz's opinion is wins are not a quarterback stat, and I'm really fucking tired of it. Like wins are
like football's a very
there's 22 people minimum. Like no, it's funny because you need the special guys. Like
yeah.
It blows my mind. If wins were such an important stat, then Joe Thomas would not be going to the Hall of Fame. Yet, for whatever fucking reason, everybody was able to say Joe Thomas was without a doubt left tackle of the last generation. Year in and year out, everybody was like, it's clearly him. Barry Sanders wouldn't be shit if wins were that important of a stat. But one of, if not the best running back of all time. Like, it's just because it's fucking quarterbacks. And I get that it should add some more of a factor because they are the captains of the team and they do have much more of a responsibility and they have to do a lot more. But it should not be the overwhelm and that would drive up a fucking wall when I'm talking about fucking boat conversations. And that's why I'm rooting for Mahomes, honestly. After Rodgers retires, I hope he fucking is a Super Bowl. He deserves to be touted as the GOAT.
Yeah, and especially since he'll be in Kansas City for the next 10 years or whatever that contract.
He will die in a game coaching him.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Eric Bieniemy will finally be promoted to head coach because we'll continue to take up, which is just absolutely sick. Yeah, definitely. And then I just want to give a shout out to Josh Allen because I think he deserves to somewhat be in this station. Especially the way he improved this year. And his touchdown is 28 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, and his complete percentage is 68%, which is just, it's a 10-point jump from last year. So it's just I don't know, it's just absurd with him. And it's I think it's him and Russell Wilson are just oh yeah, they're kind of fun because Russ was killing it for the first 4 weeks, and then
Russ's
fell off a cliff.
season has been tragic, dude. Like,
Yeah.
he after like halfway through the season, everybody was like, I think it was maybe like week 7. Everybody was like, lock it in. Russ has the MVP. It's over. It's not even close. And then he had like this 4 or 5 game stretch where he was just throwing pick after pick after pick, and then they lost to the Cardinals, and like he just completely fell off the rails. They're still doing really well now, but like he threw himself out of the conversation. And for a guy who definitely deserves at least one in his career, if not more, because there have been a couple years in the past that Russ was his entire team. Remember all those years that they just did not have an offensive line, and it was just him running around like a chicken with his head cut off?
You mean like every year until like kind of this year?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. All right. That's what I got for MVP. Unless you want any other.
I mean,
stats or something.
It's never gonna. We've had this conversation so many times of like how I genuinely feel about the MVP conversation. I think it's bullshit. Because they're just gonna give it to a quarterback every single year. They need to switch it up because it's just it's so boring to me. Like, fucking, hey, who's the best quarterback this year? You know, like, if you want to be a running back and get the award, you have to run for like 4,000 yards and have like 70 touchdowns.
Okay, just to kind of turn that around on you, don't you think that it's the most valuable player, and isn't the quarterback the most valuable player on a said football team?
And those are the conversations that we've had, Dan, because I said there needs to be an MVP and there needs to be a best player in the league award.
Yeah.
Like, who dominated their position better than anybody else? Like, if there was only one Madden 99 overall, who would it be?
See, like, I think you could almost solve that if you just took Offensive Player of the Year and just, like, gave it to a non-quarterback. Like, it's just like, this person has to be a non-quarterback.
Yeah.
And then, because basically then you get Defensive Player of the Year, and then you get this, like, weird Offensive Player of the Year thing. And it's like, okay, like, I could see that. That wide receiver is great. I guess a lineman would never get it. So that's kind of bad. Like an offensive lineman. Defensive, like Aaron Donald has gotten Defensive Player of the Year so many times.
Yeah. It's crazy.
So.
And look at what fucking Aaron Donald has had to do.
Go through a wall. Like literally drive through a wall. So
really well though. Holy shit.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So when I sent these notes out to Fritz this morning, I literally had NBA question mark next to me. And then Fritz so graciously texted me that we should talk about Giannis' contract, KD and Kyrie, Harden's bullshit, or the Lakers bench beating the Clippers starters twice. So we don't really have time to do all this, so I'm going to let you pick one, and we could talk about that.
I honestly, let's talk about KD and Kyrie, because,
okay,
like, as much as I want to gloat about how the Lakers are gonna win again this year, like, the downfall of the Clippers has just been like chef's kiss. It has been so good. It feels so fucking good that shit talking team just got their dicks kicked in and then imploded. Pat Bev, I used to really like Pat Bev because he was like a hardworking like grinder. And then he just fucking started running his mouth, and that's why I love guys like Jordy Nelson. A lot of guys like how many people know what Julio sounds like? You know, like what his voice sounds like.
Oh, I don't.
Because he fucking never talks. He lets his fucking play speak for itself, and that's the kind of shit that I love. So watching Montrezl Harrell fucking leave and then go to the Lakers, and then all of like their hopes about getting Rondo just went down the fucking hole. It makes me really happy. But I think that the KD Kyrie situation is much more interesting. and we should talk about that.
That's totally fair. All right, so do you want to talk about the Kyrie media, like not talking to the media, or just the whole?
That's the thing.
Right.
I felt like we could talk about both because both of them are pretty like they're light. There's not a ton to talk about, but it's not just like, man, fucking Giannis sure did get paid a lot. Like,
wow, how much money Giannis got.
Hot take.
That's so rewarding. Yeah. All right. Let me lead with the Kyrie because I will defend Kyrie to the grave. I don't care. I will stand on this island.
This is the one I don't get. I don't understand with you.
So this is great not only for Kyrie to not talk to the media, but for the Nets organization, the Nets locker room to not talk to the media because the way Kyrie talks is he kind of talks in this way where he says a lot of words and like it really means nothing. It's just kind of like fluff and stuff. So I mean, the media loves it because then they could write some article about it or talk about it on a podcast for like 20 minutes, like we're going to right now. But I guess not that long. Anyways, but like he does get misinterpreted all the time. Like
that's true.
Like people need to go back and like when he goes to the Celtics. Or when he was on the Celtics and he like kind of like passively aggressively talked bad about their team, they went on like winning streaks afterwards. Like this team was doing good when he did those things. Like people forget that happened. People just talked about the things he talked about for a week and forgot that the Celtics won like 5 games straight or whatever. So it's like, first off, like that's a good thing, and I'm almost contradicting myself saying that he should probably do that to get the Nets like better. But like if he's not talking, then they're not creating this like distraction. Maybe he's in a better headspace than he was before. He can focus, on his Black Lives Matter movement, whatever like charity he's trying to raise or any political action he's trying to do. So like, it's a win-win. Come on, Nets, let's go, Brooklyn baby.
One thing I would like to clear up for Kyrie, he didn't actually say the Earth was flat, right? Like he said that like people, it was something like flat earthers. He said that like he like listened to one of them or something one time and like what they had to say was interesting or something like that. He's like, I don't think we should immediately dismiss like open thoughts like that or something like that. Like he didn't directly say, I think the Earth's flat, and like the media has just fucking ran with that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what he said. He was just open to ideas and like basically watched a bunch of YouTube videos on the Earth is flat and was like, I can see that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But the thing with Kyrie, man, like calling the media a bunch of pawns was pretty disrespectful. Like, I mean, they're still just people doing their fucking job. Like, I think in any sense, like whether or not, even if they were members of the media or not, there's still people that are just doing their jobs. And like, to talk about anybody that way, that like you're better than them and shit is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you that.
And personally, like, yeah, I know there's a lot about Kyrie, but I still probably won't for a while get over the whole Cleveland debacle. It still hurts.
Oh, yeah.
We had something, and he hasn't been that since. I used to love Kyrie so much. Him and LeBron worked so well together, and he hasn't been the same since. And I also fucking hate KD. I've never seen such a soft little baby boy in in the NFL or any sports league ever. Like, for somebody to talk so much shit and then also just get so butthurt about everything is it drives me insane. And then to do what he did You know, like to do what he did and then also talk so much shit is it I mean, how much do I really need to say? Like most people have the same opinion I do that KD like is not a dog, and like fucking Derrick Rose's 50-point game is worth more than either one of his rings. Like, I think the feeling I don't mean that in its entirety, but I think the emotions that Derrick Rose felt after that game were stronger than the emotions that KD felt for both of his championships combined.
Yeah, probably, but I do think that Kevin Durant is someone that bases his opinions off of other people. So when people are saying like his title doesn't count, then like it affects him as well.
It's really fun.
So,
well,
I guess I don't know. I kind of feel bad
it is.
I feel that.
I mean,
but
yeah, but like he brought it on himself. Like, I don't know. This is a whole other conversation.
Yeah, we should get into this. But like I don't know. I'm excited to see what this team is because I feel like this team has been speculation for like a year and a half now since they declared in like June of last year. And I just want to actually like put a face to it and not like a preseason like an actual NBA game and see like can these two isolation players play with each other? How do they mix and mash it with LeVert, who's also an isolation player, like Joe Harris. Joe Harris should fit that team perfectly.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know, cause right, it's the Achilles thing. Like that's so hard to recover from. Like we've seen Cousins try to come back from it, and he didn't look anything like it. I forget the older NBA player that had an Achilles
Kobe.
tear. Oh yeah, right. He definitely did not look, and he overworked that, and probably shouldn't have worked that hard. And I don't know. I just want to see them play. I don't think it's gonna work. It doesn't make sense. And it just seems like the East is so much better now than it was when they first signed. Just because like the way the Raptors have come up and like Raptors. Okay, I know I'm totally going off topic, but Malachi Flynn is like another late first round steal point guard.
Oh yeah.
That this team has gotten. And it's just absurd at this point. Like, it seems like they're cheating in the draft. But, like, they'll be good. The Celtics will be good. The Bucks are still going to be good. Like, there's all these teams that are going to be up there. It's like, how do they crack that? Especially if they can't really play defense. Like, how is Durant going to be at defense? We all know Kyrie's not a good defender. Like, Joe Harris is probably their best defender. But, like, how much can he stop? So, I don't know. And I'm glad that like Harden isn't gonna like mess this up. Because it's like if they traded Harden for Kyrie and like we didn't even get to see this, I would have been kind of sad.
Dude, man, that's another person that I am getting real sick of. Like,
oh yeah, fuck him.
Dude, fuck Harden. How does he not get that he's the fucking problem? Oh.
Also, just this whole COVID thing was awful. Like he went to like a strip club in Vegas, or a bunch of strip clubs in Vegas with Lil Baby, and stuff, and just absolutely like I think there's a tweet out there too that like James Harden can do great isolation on the court, but is awful off the court. So
that's really funny.
That's
really
so true. And I'm just excited NBA is coming back. Was it the 22nd, I think, is the first official game?
Yo, THT looks good, too.
Yeah.
By the way,
should be great.
I think it's so funny that Jordan drafted the ball kid.
He just fell, though.
Yeah, I know. So. But, like, I mean, he's going to be good, but, like, I don't think he's going to be that good. His shot looks so ugly, dude.
I think he's gonna be the best ball though.
I think he's gonna.
Like he'll be better than Lonzo.
Okay, I mean,
which is fine. I think as an NBA player, like if you're better than Lonzo Ball, you're better than average. This is a weak draft class. Like everyone's talked about it, especially it's not top heavy. It's like middle heavy, if that even is a word. But like the whole like Obi Toppin, how he like people are hyping him up on the Knicks because it's like he was like a later an eighth pick or something. Like it's just role players that are able to like fill in teams. It's not you're not gonna get a Zion, a Ja, like a Luka, Trae Young, one of those people.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
Just lack that. Yeah. All right, moving on to the how bad police are segment of this podcast. So the Hartford Police. So Hartford Police Detective Jeffrey Pelzik is currently facing 4 months of unpaid suspension and a demotion within the Hartford Police Department for sending a group text to his colleagues in the Major Crimes Division to place a bet on which street in Hartford will be the first to report a shooting. Basically, he was making bets like, oh, $20 around, like what street. I guess like the text came out of what streets there were, and just for people who are unaware of Hartford, most of these streets were in like the north end, basically more people of color, more like lower income, just like higher crime areas, and it's just completely disrespectful for those areas. And these are like police people, like they should be serving, the people. And it's just like another thing, like another piece of evidence that people should have to defund more of the police or to reallocate those funds to give to social workers or like use like mental health kind of people. Like I've said this so many times on this podcast, it's just ridiculous. But like, first of all, the fact that this guy isn't fired is ridiculous. Police unions are a sham, and they should not be. You should not have a union when you have a gun on your job. Like that's just absolutely unheard of. And I forget exactly what the Hartford Council did, but they basically wrote a letter saying that like this guy should get fired, which I think is
Makes
good,
sense.
but
Fucking should.
I think the mayor, what's his face, Mayor Bronin is gonna actually have to fire him, and it's just like I don't know. There's a segment where there's a lady that lives on Garden Street, which is in like the north end of Hartford, and it's just like she's going like, this is my street, this is where my friends and family. When you think that like this place is bad, and it's just completely insensitive, it's just so wrong. So I don't know what your thoughts of this are.
My first thought, like when reading this, was like he's facing a demotion and a suspension, like it hasn't happened immediately.
Yeah.
Let alone being fucking fired. Like that's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
This guy. Imagine. Let's move the goal. Let's switch to another field here. How would you feel if your surgeons were placing bets on which patients lived and died? You'd want them fucking fired, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And guess what? They fucking would be. But not in this dog shit world that we live in, where, like politicians and police can basically just fucking pay off whoever the hell they want to and protect each other. Dude, I saw one of my I have an uncle who like is becoming more progressive, and it's whenever I see like somebody from the boomer generation like realizing these things that are happening actively and like taking notice and not just believing the same old bullshit that we've been told for years and years. I say something because I'm like, thank you for actually like not just going with the status quo, because 90% of them do. But like it's super inspiring. Like when somebody who's like known one thing their whole life changes their ideology when they get more information. Especially because for us that seems so easy because we grew up in this era, based in technology and information, where like we can literally just fucking look up anything at any time. But with them, it was always just like, whatever they were told was, the fucking rule. And like, that's what you lived your life off of. Democrats good, Republicans bad, or Republicans good, Democrats bad. Like now they're really fucking similar to each other, and like there's a lot of overlap, and you have to actually like base people off of what they do. I'm rambling, but basically I saw him, like I saw my aunt post about how like Pete Buttigieg got picked, and like they were both talking about how much they love him, and I'm just like, no, he's a fucking horrible person. He's really fucking fake. Please go look up his record with it, like the South Bend police community, like the police department. He covered up the firing of what was it, like a black police chief for being black or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Not even that. Like, go a little deeper. And when he was like the mayor of South Bend, he like, so his whole thing was like, oh, we're gonna make like Silicon Midwest or whatever in South Bend. And he basically was like going to these homes that like were kind of decrepit, not very well, and they were basically like evicting people in the middle of winter to like renovate it and like basically gentrify that area so that like it looks better and it looks cleaner and like white people could move in.
Nice.
Like, this is all things that he did as like a 1-term or 2-term mayor or whatever the fuck he was. So it's just like he can say one thing, and then when you look at his, like, he actually has bad stuff.
I mean,
and he's only what?
There was also like
7 or whatever?
him like talking about being a progressive and supporting Medicare for all, and the second he realized that lane didn't, that lane was being clogged up by mostly Bernie Sanders and a little bit of Elizabeth Warren, he was like, you know what? Let's try something else. Let's see what gets me power. Not what I actually believe in. What's gonna make me win so I can have power? I don't believe in fucking anything.
Yeah.
That's what that guy is. He's a fucking chameleon, and he's a slimeball little rat boy. I can't stand it. But back to the police. It's horrific, man. It's a fucking like. Like that cliche, like, oh, is this a game to you? That's what it is. It's them making a fucking game out of people dying. That's some Hunger Games shit. That movie about like that dystopian land where the rich people basically make a reality show about people murdering each other.
I think most people know what the Hunger Games is.
Oh, I know. I'm explaining it to put into light that like what I'm saying and what that show is not that dissimilar from what we're watching right now.
Yeah, that's very true. And basically, when you just add in, capitalism and just the way that like wages have been suppressed for so long, is basically people are fighting.
Wages have stayed stagnant since I think 1989, and have not accounted for inflation.
Without inflation, it's like or include inflation, then it basically has kept on par.
Yep.
Which is just absurd. Police bad, I guess. That's the moral of the story. Again, for like, I think I've talked about the Rochester Police a decent amount because of Daniel Prude, and then there's this huge Reuters article on this like Sylvan Simmons guy that like he got like shot at. Luckily he lived, but like there was like no reason that he should have got shot at all. And basically like he woke up in the hospital like arrested because like this police person shot him for no reason. Anyways, that wraps up this week's edition of the Snowflake Sports Podcast. I would like to thank Fritz for coming on. It's always a pleasure.
There's a hell of a way to wrap that up.
Yeah, right?
Jesus.
We do it live here. So please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow on Instagram at Snowflake Sports. You can follow me on Twitter at Lucky Profession. You can follow Fritz at Fritz Eyre, and also Fritz is spelled Fritz.
You don't like S's in this
Fritz,
house.
you got any last words?
If you're in Rochester and you need somebody to take care of your dog,
hit him up.
Yeah, hit me up. I just started a little dog daycare at my house in this horrible fucking world that we're living in.
Right.
Dude,
but there is hope.
It blows my mind how
here.
many of the real world issues that I've been fighting for have actually firsthand impacted me. It's fucked up.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, good show.
Anyways. All right. Have a good one.